The gallery was empty when Maya locked the door behind the last visitor. She'd been waiting for this moment all day, the silence that came after closing. When the white walls stopped echoing with footsteps and polite conversation, and she could finally breathe, she walked through the exhibition space. Her footsteps soft against the polished concrete floor. The paintings hung in perfect alignment, each one a window into someone else's soul. But tonight, Maya couldn't focus on the art. Her mind was elsewhere, replaying the same moment over and over, the way Elena had looked at her that morning, with eyes that held both longing and goodbye. 3 years. That's how long they'd been together. 3 years of stolen kisses in supply closets, of holding hands under restaurant tables, of building a life in the shadows because Elena wouldn't tell her family the truth. Maya's phone buzzed. She knew it was Elena before she even looked. "Can we talk? Please." Her fingers hovered over the screen. Part of her wanted to ignore it, to let the silence speak for both of them. But love isn't something you can turn off like a light switch, no matter how much it hurts. "Where?" She typed back. "Our place." Maya's heart clenched. Their place. The rooftop garden of Elena's apartment building, where they'd had their first real conversation. Where Elena had first kissed her under a sky full of stars. It had started so simply, so innocently. Maya had been hired to curate a small exhibition at the community center where Elena volunteered. Elena was a social worker, passionate about helping immigrant families navigate their new lives in America. She had this way of listening, really listening, that made everyone feel seen. Maya noticed her immediately. Not just because Elena was beautiful, though she was, dark curls that fell past her shoulders. Warm brown eyes, a smile that could disarm anyone. No, it was something deeper. The way Elena moved through the world with such purpose, such grace. The way she spoke about her work with a fire that Maya recognized in herself. When she talked about art, they'd started having coffee together after planning meetings. Then coffee turned into lunch. Lunch turned into long walks through the city. And somewhere along the way, friendship had transformed into something neither of them could name but both of them felt. The night Elena kissed her, they'd been sitting on that rooftop, talking about dreams and fears and all the things they'd never told anyone else. Elena had been crying. Her grandmother, the woman who'd raised her, was sick. And Elena was terrified of losing her. "I don't know what I'll do without her," Elena had whispered, her voice breaking. "She's the only one who really knows me." Maya had taken her hand, squeezed it gently. "I'm here. I see you." And Elena had looked at her, then really looked at her. And something had shifted in the air between them. When their lips met, it felt like coming home and jumping off a cliff at the same time. Terrifying. Perfect, inevitable. Maya took the subway to Elena's neighborhood, her stomach tight with anxiety. She didn't know what this conversation would bring, but she knew it had been coming for months. Ever since Elena's grandmother passed away, something had changed. Elena had become more distant, more conflicted. The guilt that had always simmered beneath the surface of their relationship had begun to boil over. Elena's family was traditional, religious. They had expectations for her marriage to a good man, children. A life that fit neatly into the narrative they'd built for themselves. Coming out would mean risking everything: her relationship with her mother, her standing in the community, the foundation of her identity. Maya understood. She did, but understanding didn't make it hurt any less. The rooftop was quiet when Maya arrived. Elena stood at the edge, looking out at the city lights, her silhouette sharp against the darkening sky. She turned when she heard the door open and Maya's breath caught. Even now, even with her heart breaking, Elena was the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. "Hi," Elena said softly. "Hi." They stood there for a moment, the space between them feeling like an ocean. Finally, Elena spoke. "I'm sorry. For this morning. For how I've been. For everything." Maya shook her head. "Don't apologize for things you can't control." "But I can control this," Elena said, her voice urgent now. "I can control how I treat you. How I love you. And lately, I haven't been doing either very well." "Elena, no, please. Let me say this." Elena took a step closer, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "When my grandmother died, I thought I'd never survive it. But you were there. You held me through every terrible night. You let me cry and rage and fall apart, and you never asked for anything in return. You just loved me." Maya's own eyes filled with tears. "Of course I did. I do, I know." Elena's voice cracked. "That's what makes this so hard. Because you deserve someone who can love you out loud, Maya. Someone who can hold your hand in public without looking over their shoulder. Someone who can introduce you to their family and say, 'This is the woman I love.' And I can't be that person." There it was. The truth they'd been dancing around for months. "You could be," Maya said quietly. "If you wanted to." Elena flinched as if she'd been struck. "It's not that simple." "I know it's not. I know it's complicated and messy and terrifying. But Elena, we can't keep living like this. I can't keep being your secret." "You're not a secret. You're the most important person in my life." Then why does it feel like I don't exist whenever we're around other people? The words came out sharper than Maya intended, but she didn't take them back. They were true. Elena closed her eyes, a tear sliding down her cheek. Because I'm a coward. No, Maya crossed the space between them, taking Elena's face in her hands. You're scared. There's a difference. I don't know if there is, Elena whispered. Maya, if I lose my family, you might not. They might surprise you, and if they don't? If I tell them and they turn their backs on me? If I lose my mother, my cousins, everyone I've ever known? Can you promise me it'll be worth it? Maya wanted to say yes. She wanted to promise Elena that everything would be okay, that love would conquer all, that they could build a new family together. But she'd learned a long time ago that love wasn't always enough. No, she said honestly. I can't promise you that. But I can promise you that I'll be here. Through whatever comes. If you want me to be, Elena pulled away, wrapping her arms around herself. That's not fair to you. Let me decide what's fair to me. Maya, do you love me? The question hung in the air between them, heavy and essential. You know I do. Then fight for us. I'm not asking you to come out to your entire family tomorrow. I'm not asking you to choose between them and me. I'm just asking you to try. To take one small step. To let someone in, even if it's just one person. Elena was silent for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely audible. I'm so afraid. I know, baby. I know. Maya pulled her close, and Elena collapsed into her arms, sobbing. They stood like that for a long time, two women holding each other against the weight of the world. The weeks that followed were strange. Elena didn't make any grand declarations or sudden changes, but something had shifted. She started small, mentioning Maya more in conversations with her co-workers, posting a photo of them together, carefully cropped, but still on social media. Baby steps. Maya tried to be patient, to understand that change doesn't happen overnight. But it was hard. Every time Elena dropped her hand when someone familiar approached, every time she introduced Maya as her friend, it felt like a small death. They went to therapy together, something Maya had suggested months ago that Elena had finally agreed to. Dr. Reeves was a kind woman in her 50s who specialized in LGBTQ+ issues and family dynamics. She didn't judge Elena for her fear, but she also didn't let her hide from it. What's the worst thing that could happen if you came out to your family? Dr. Reeves asked during one session. Elena's answer was immediate. They'd disown me, okay, and what would that look like practically? They'd stop talking to me. They wouldn't invite me to family gatherings. My mother would be devastated. She'd probably tell the whole community and I'd become the family disgrace. That sounds incredibly painful, Dr. Reeves said gently. And if that happened, what would you have? Elena looked at Maya, her eyes full of tears. I'd have her. If she'd still want me. Always, Maya whispered. Dr. Reeves leaned forward. Elena, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Coming out is deeply personal and only you can decide when and how to do it. But I want you to consider something right now. You're living with one kind of pain, the pain of hiding, of compartmentalizing your life. If you come out and your family rejects you, you'll experience a different kind of pain. Neither is easy. But one of these pains comes with the possibility of freedom. The other is a cage you lock yourself in. That session marked a turning point. Not an immediate one, change rarely is, but a shift in how Elena saw their situation. She started reading books about coming out, joining online forums, talking to other queer women who'd navigated similar situations. She was, slowly, preparing herself. It happened on a Tuesday evening in October. Elena's mother had invited her over for dinner, something that happened weekly. Usually, Elena went alone. But this time, she asked Maya to come. Are you sure? Maya had asked, her heart pounding. No, Elena admitted. But I want to try. They stood outside the modest brick house in Queens, Elena's hand trembling in Maya's. The smell of sofrito drifted from the open kitchen window, familiar and comforting. We can leave right now if you want, Maya offered, no judgment. Elena shook her head. I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of hiding the best thing in my life. They rang the doorbell. Elena's mother, Carmen, answered with a warm smile that faltered slightly when she saw Maya. Midja. You didn't tell me you were bringing a friend, Mommy. This is Maya. My girlfriend. The silence that followed felt eternal. Carmen's smile disappeared, replaced by confusion, then understanding. Then something harder to read. Maya's stomach dropped. Your girlfriend? Carmen repeated slowly. Yes, Elena's voice was stronger now, more certain. I'm gay, Mommy. I have been my whole life. And Maya is the woman I love. I wanted you to meet her properly. Carmen stared at them both, her face unreadable. Then, without a word, she turned and walked back into the house. Leaving the door open, Elena and Maya exchanged a glance. It wasn't a slam in the face, but it wasn't an embrace either. Cautiously, they followed her inside. Carmen was in the kitchen, Stirring a pot with more force than necessary, Elena approached slowly. Mommy, how long? Carmen asked without turning around. 3 years. Carmen's hand stilled on the spoon. 3 years. You've been lying to me for 3 years. I wasn't lying. I was protecting myself. And protecting you from something I thought you couldn't accept. Carmen finally turned around. And Maya saw that her eyes were wet. You think I don't know my own daughter. You think I haven't seen how you look at women. How you've never been interested in the nice boys I introduce you to. Elena's mouth fell open. You knew. I suspected. I didn't want it to be true, so I told myself I was imagining things. Carmen wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. This is a sin, Elena. The church says a lot of things, Mommy, but God made me this way. I didn't choose it. I just am. And her, Carmen looked at Maya for the first time. Really looked at her. What is she to you? Everything, Elena said simply. She's kind and brilliant and patient. She makes me laugh. She really sees me in a way no one else ever has. She's been there for me through everything, including losing Abuela. Mommy, I love her. And I need you to try to accept that. Carmen was quiet for a long time. Then she said, sit down. Both of you, the food is getting cold. It wasn't acceptance, not really. But it was a beginning. They ate dinner together. The conversation stilted and awkward at first. But as the evening wore on, Carmen asked Maya questions: where she was from, what she did for work, how she'd met Elena. Maya answered honestly. And Elena watched her mother slowly, carefully, start to see Maya as a person rather than a sin. When they left that night, Carmen hugged Elena at the door. I need time, she said quietly. This isn't easy for me. I know, Mommy, thank you for trying. Carmen nodded. Then surprised them both by reaching out and briefly squeezing Maya's hand. Take care of my daughter, always, Maya promised. The months that followed weren't perfect. Carmen struggled with her faith, with what her friends at church would think, with letting go of the future she'd imagined for Elena, but she kept trying. She invited them both to Sunday dinner, she asked questions, she even, eventually, started telling other family members. Some of them were accepting, others weren't. Elena's uncle refused to speak to her, a few cousins unfollowed her on social media. But her mother stood by her, and that made all the difference. Maya watched Elena bloom in ways she'd never seen before. The weight she'd been carrying for so long was slowly lifting. She laughed more freely. She held Maya's hand in public without hesitation. She talked about their future, buying a house together, maybe getting a dog, possibly even getting married. 1 year after that dinner at Carmen's house, Elena proposed. They were back on their rooftop, under the same stars that had witnessed their first kiss. I should have done this a long time ago, Elena said, pulling out a small velvet box. I should have fought for us from the beginning. I'm sorry I didn't, but I'm fighting now. And I want to fight for the rest of our lives. Maya Rodriguez, will you marry me? Maya was crying too hard to speak, so she just nodded, laughing through her tears as Elena slipped the ring onto her finger. They got married 6 months later in a small ceremony at the gallery where they'd first met. Carmen was there, sitting in the front row, crying into a tissue. She still struggled sometimes with her daughter's sexuality, still said novenas for Elena's soul. But she loved her daughter, and she was learning to love Maya to dot as they exchanged vows. Maya looked into Elena's eyes and saw everything they'd been through reflected back at her: the pain, the fear, the doubt, but she also saw hope, love, a future stretching out before them like an open road. I choose you, Elena said, her voice strong and clear. Every day, in every way, I choose you and I choose you. Maya replied, today, tomorrow, always. When they kissed, the small crowd erupted in applause. But Maya barely heard it. All she could hear was Elena's whisper against her lips, thank you for waiting for me. Thank you for being worth the wait, Maya whispered back. 5 years later, they sat on their own rooftop, the house they'd bought, together in Brooklyn, watching their nieces play with the dog they'd adopted. Carmen was inside, cooking dinner for the whole family, arguing good-naturedly with Elena's younger brother about the proper way to season arroz con palo. Did you ever think we'd get here? Elena asked, her head resting on Maya's shoulder. Honestly, there were moments I wasn't sure we'd make it. I'm sorry I put you through that. Don't be. Maya kissed the top of Elena's head. We grew because of it, both of us. You learned to be brave, I learned to be patient, and look what we built. Elena laced their fingers together, the matching wedding bands catching the afternoon light. I used to think loving you meant losing everything else. But it turns out loving you gave me everything I needed. Sappy, Maya teased. You love it. I do. Maya pulled Elena closer. I really do. Below them, the city hummed with life, millions of people living their own stories, fighting their own battles, finding their own paths to love. And above them, the sky stretched endless and blue, full of possibility. They'd made it, through the fear and the doubt, through the pain of hiding and the terror of being seen, through family drama and personal growth and all the messy, Beautiful complications that come with choosing to love someone completely. In one space, this moment, this home, this life they'd built together, there was only one whisper that mattered. The sound of two hearts beating in sync, speaking the language of a love that had survived everything thrown at it and emerged stronger on the other side. Everyone else was gone, all the people who doubted them, who'd tried to tear them apart, who'd said it would never work. It was just them now, just Maya and Elena, together in the quiet certainty of forever, and that was more than enough. The proposal was just the beginning. Maya learned quickly that saying yes to forever meant saying yes to everything that came with it, the beautiful and the complicated, the joyful and the heartbreaking. Planning the wedding brought its own challenges. Elena's family was split down the middle. Carmen had slowly come around, but she was still navigating her own journey of acceptance. She wanted to be supportive, but years of religious teaching and cultural expectations didn't disappear overnight. "I want to help with the wedding," Carmen told Elena one Sunday afternoon. They were alone in the kitchen, Carmen teaching Elena how to make her grandmother's flan recipe, something she'd been promising to do for years. Elena looked up from the mixture she was whisking, surprised. "Really, you're my daughter, of course I want to help." Carmen paused, her hands stilling on the counter. "But Mija, I have to ask, do you have to call it a wedding? Can't it just be a celebration, a commitment ceremony?" Elena felt the old familiar ache in her chest. "Mommy, it is a wedding. Maya and I are getting married. But in the eyes of the church doesn't get to decide what my love is worth." Elena's voice was firm but not angry. "Mommy, I love you. I appreciate you being here, trying to accept this. But I'm not going to minimize what Maya and I have to make other people comfortable. If you can't come to our wedding and celebrate it for what it is, then maybe it's better if you don't come at all." Carmen's eyes filled with tears. "Don't say that. I'm not trying to hurt you, but I've spent so many years making myself smaller, hiding who I am. I can't do that anymore, not even for you." They stood in silence for a moment, the half-made flan forgotten between them. Then Carmen spoke, her voice thick with emotion. "When you were born, I had so many dreams for you. I pictured your quinceañera, your wedding in the church, your babies. I pictured being the kind of mother my mother was to me. And when you told me you were gay, it felt like all of those dreams died." Elena's throat tightened. "I know, but then I realized something." Carmen looked at her daughter, really looked at her. "Those were my dreams, not yours. And you've been living your life trying to fit into my dreams instead of building your own. That's my fault. I made you feel like my love was conditional." "Mommy, let me finish." Carmen took Elena's hands in hers. "I'm still learning. I still struggle. When Father Rodriguez talks about sin at Mass, I think about you and my heart hurts. But then I come here and I see how Maya looks at you. I see how happy you are. And I think, how can love like that be wrong?" Elena was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. "I'll come to your wedding," Carmen continued. "And I'll call it a wedding. I'll sit in the front row and I'll cry, not because I'm sad, but because my daughter found someone who loves her the way she deserves to be loved. And maybe that's not the dream I had for you, but it's a good dream. It's a beautiful dream." Elena pulled her mother into a fierce hug, both of them crying, the flan mixture starting to separate on the counter between them. But not everyone in Elena's family was as willing to evolve. 2 weeks before the wedding, Elena's uncle Tomas called. He was Carmen's older brother, a man who'd always been deeply religious and set in his ways. "I can't come to your event," he told Elena stiffly. "It goes against everything I believe in." Elena had expected this, but it still hurt. "I understand, Tio, do you? Do you understand that you're breaking your mother's heart? That you're embarrassing the family?" "I'm not embarrassing anyone. I'm living my truth, your truth." Tomas laughed bitterly. "That's modern nonsense. There's only one truth, Elena, and it's in the Bible. The Bible also says to love thy neighbor." Elena countered. "It says judge not lest ye be judged. It says, don't quote scripture at me, girl. You've made your choice. You've chosen sin over your family. I've chosen love, Chio. I've chosen to be honest about who I am. If you can't accept that, then I'm sorry, but that's your loss, not mine." She hung up before he could respond, her hands shaking. Maya found her sitting on the edge of their bed, staring at nothing. "What happened?" Maya sat beside her, taking her hand. Elena told her about the call. "I knew some people wouldn't come. I knew there would be judgment. But hearing it from him, it still hurts." "I know, baby." Maya pulled her close. "But look at how far you've come. 2 years ago, you were terrified to tell anyone. Now you're standing up for yourself, for us. That takes incredible strength. It doesn't feel strong. It feels exhausting." "That's because it is exhausting. Coming out isn't a what-I'm thing, it's something you have to do over and over again. With every new person, every new situation. But Elena, you're doing it. You're choosing us. And I'm so proud of you." Elena leaned into Maya's embrace, letting herself be held. "I wish it was easier, me too. But nothing worth having ever is. The wedding was beautiful. They'd kept it small, just close friends and the family members who'd chosen to be there. The gallery was decorated with fairy lights and flowers, transformed from a sterile white space into something magical. Maya's parents had flown in from California. They'd been supportive from the moment Maya came out at 16, and they welcomed Elena into the family with open arms. Her mother, Patricia, helped Elena get ready, carefully adjusting her veil and telling her stories about Maya as a child. She used to line up all her stuffed animals and perform weddings for them. Patricia said with a laugh. She'd make them say vows she'd written herself. Even then, she believed in love so fiercely. Elena smiled, touched by the image. She's always been a romantic, she has. But she's also practical, loyal. When she loves someone, she loves them completely. Patricia met Elena's eyes in the mirror. Thank you for being patient with her through your coming out process. I know it wasn't easy. She never made me feel rushed or pressured. She just waited. She believed in us when I was still learning to believe in myself. That's Maya. Patricia squeezed her shoulder. Welcome to the family, Mija. The ceremony itself was simple but profound. They'd written their own vows, each word carefully chosen and deeply meant. Maya went first. Her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes. Elena, when I met you, I didn't know I was waiting for someone. I thought I was complete on my own. But you showed me that there are different kinds of completeness, the kind where you're whole by yourself, and the kind where you become more whole by sharing your life with someone else. You've challenged me, frustrated me, made me laugh until my sides hurt. You've shown me what courage looks like, what growth looks like. And through it all, you've loved me with a tenderness and ferocity that takes my breath away. I promise to be your safe place. I promise to fight for us when things get hard. I promise to see you, always, in all your complexity and beauty. I promise to love you not just in the easy moments, but in the difficult ones too. Today, tomorrow, and every day after that, Elena was crying before she even started speaking. When she finally found her voice, it wavered but didn't break. Maya, you've taught me what it means to be truly seen. For so long, I lived in the shadows, afraid of who I was, afraid of what others would think. But you saw me anyway. You saw past my fear and my doubt, and you loved the person I was trying so hard to hide. You waited for me while I learned to be brave. You held my hand through every difficult conversation, every moment of doubt. You never gave up on us, even when I was close to giving up on myself. I promised to keep choosing bravery. I promised to keep choosing honesty. And most importantly, I promised to keep choosing you not just today, but every single day. You are my home, my heart, my everything. And I will spend the rest of my life proving to you that waiting for me was worth it. When the officiant pronounced them married, the room erupted in applause and cheers. They kissed, and Maya felt Elena smiling against her lips. Felt the joy radiating from her wife like sunlight. Carmen was indeed in the front row, crying into a tissue. But when Elena and Maya walked back down the aisle as a married couple, Carmen was the first one on her feet, applauding loudly. Her face transformed with something that looked a lot like pride. At the reception, Elena's younger brother Diego gave a toast that had everyone laughing and crying. I've known about Elena being gay since she was 15, he confessed. She thought she was being subtle, but I saw the way she looked at her English teacher, Ms. Martinez. I never said anything because I figured she'd tell me when she was ready. And when she finally did, years later, I told her I already knew. She was so mad at me, everyone laughed. But the truth is, I've always known my sister was capable of deep, passionate love. I just didn't know who would be lucky enough to receive it. Maya, you are that person. You brought my sister back to life. You helped her find her courage. And for that, our whole family should be grateful. To Maya and Elena, may your love continue to be a light in the darkness. They danced their first dance to At Last by Etta James, swaying together in the center of the floor while their friends and family watched. Maya whispered in Elena's ear, "How are you feeling?" "Like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be," Elena whispered back. "For the first time in my life, I'm not hiding. I'm not apologizing. I'm just here with you." And it's perfect. Marriage, they discovered, was both easier and harder than they'd expected. The legal recognition felt significant, being able to call Elena her wife, to have their relationship acknowledged by the government and society. But it didn't magically solve all their problems. They had their first big fight 3 months after the wedding. It was about something stupid, dishes left in the sink, but it escalated quickly into something deeper. "You always do this," Elena said, her voice rising. "You say you'll do something and then you don't, and I end up doing it. I forgot. I was busy with the exhibition opening." "I'm sorry, you're always sorry, but nothing changes." Maya felt her own anger flare. "That's not fair. I do plenty around here. Just because I don't do things exactly the way you want them done, this isn't about perfection. Maya, it's about partnership. It's about feeling like I can rely on you. You can rely on me. I've proven that over and over again. Or have you forgotten who stood by you when your entire family was questioning your sexuality? The moment the words left her mouth, Maya regretted them. Elena's face went pale, then flushed with anger. Don't you dare. Don't you dare throw that in my face. I didn't ask you to wait for me, you chose to, I know, and I don't regret it. But you can't act like I'm unreliable when I've been the most consistent thing in your life for years. Maybe that's the problem, Elena shouted. Maybe I'm so used to you being there, being perfect, that I don't know how to handle it when you're just human. They stared at each other, both breathing hard, both shocked by the intensity of their anger. Finally, Maya spoke, her voice quiet. Is that what you think? That I've been trying to be perfect? Elena sat down heavily on the couch, her anger deflating into something sadder. I don't know what I think. I'm exhausted. Maya, coming out took everything I had. And now I'm supposed to just be normal, have normal fights about dishes? I don't know how to do this. Maya sat beside her, carefully leaving a small space between them. Elena, I've never expected you to be perfect. And I don't need you to be grateful for me staying. I stayed because I loved you. I stayed because you were worth it. But you're right, we need to figure out how to be partners, not just to people in love. That means you have to trust that I'm not going anywhere just because we fight. And I have to trust that you're committed to this, even when it's hard. Elena nodded, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. You're right. I think I've been waiting for the other shoe to drop. For you to realize that I'm too much work, too complicated. You're not too much. Maya reached over and took her hand. You're exactly right. But we both have to work at this. Love isn't enough on its own. We need communication, compromise, patience. I know. Elena leaned her head on Maya's shoulder. I'm still learning how to do this. How to be someone's wife. How to let myself be fully known. We're both learning. That's okay. That's what marriage is, figuring it out together. They sat like that for a long time, hands clasped, breathing in sync. Eventually, Maya said, I'll do better about the dishes. Elena laughed, watery and genuine. I'll do better about not expecting you to be perfect. Deal. Their first year of marriage was full of moments like that, small conflicts that revealed deeper truths, growing pains as they learned to truly merge their lives. They went back to therapy not because things were falling apart, but because they wanted to build something strong enough to last. Dr. Reeves helped them develop better communication strategies, helped them understand each other's triggers and needs. Maya learned that Elena's need for order and reliability came from years of internal chaos, from never feeling secure in who she was. Elena learned that Maya's occasional forgetfulness wasn't a sign of not caring, but a side effect of her creative, scattered mind. They learned to fight better, to apologize more effectively, to celebrate their differences instead of trying to change each other. And slowly, month by month, they built something solid. Carmen became more involved in their lives. She started inviting them both to family events, introducing Maya to relatives as Elena's wife without flinching. She even, eventually, started attending PFLAG meetings, an organization for families of LGBTQ people. I thought I'd feel out of place, Carmen told them after her first meeting. But everyone there is struggling with the same things I am, trying to reconcile their faith with their love for their child, trying to unlearn years of harmful teaching. It helps knowing I'm not alone. Elena hugged her mother tightly. Thank you for trying, Mommy. It means everything. You're my daughter. I'll always try. 2 years into their marriage, Maya and Elena decided they wanted to start a family. The conversation happened one lazy Sunday morning, both of them still in bed, sunlight streaming through the windows. Do you ever think about having kids? Elena asked, her fingers tracing patterns on Maya's arm. Sometimes. Do you? Yeah, more and more lately. Elena rolled over to face Maya. I think I'd like to be a mom. But I want to do it with you, as a team. No secrets, no hiding. Maya smiled. I'd like that too. Though I have to admit, the logistics are intimidating. They spent the next several months researching their options: adoption, fostering, IVF. Each path had its own challenges and rewards. Eventually, they decided to try IVF, with Elena carrying their child. The process was harder than they'd anticipated. The hormone injections made Elena emotional and physically uncomfortable. The first round didn't take. Neither did the second. By the third attempt, they were both emotionally exhausted and financially strained. Maybe we should take a break, Maya suggested gently after the second failed attempt. Give ourselves time to regroup. No, Elena's voice was firm. I want this, Maya. I want us to have a baby. I want to build a family with you. I know it's hard, but we can't give up. I'm not giving up. I'm just saying we need to take care of ourselves too. This process is taking a toll on you. Elena broke down then. Weeks of pent-up frustration and disappointment pouring out. What if we can't have a baby? What if my body won't cooperate? What if we're trying for something that's never going to happen? Maya held her while she cried, her own heart breaking. Then we'll figure out another way. We'll adopt, or we'll foster, or we'll just be the coolest aunts to all our nieces and nephews. We'll build a beautiful life either way. But Elena, I need you to hear this. I don't need a baby to be happy. I just need you, but I want to give this to you. I want us to have this, I know. And we'll keep trying if that's what you want. But please, let's take a month off. Let your body rest. Let us rest. And then we'll try again. Reluctantly, Elena agreed. They spent that month reconnecting, going on dates, remembering why they fell in love in the first place. They traveled to Puerto Rico, walked on beaches, ate good food, made love without the pressure of timed intercourse and hormone schedules. When they started the IVF process again, they were stronger, united, ready for whatever came next. The third round worked. Elena found out she was pregnant on a random Tuesday morning. She'd taken the test alone, planning to surprise Maya either way. When she saw the positive result, she stood in the bathroom for a full 10 minutes. Staring at the two pink lines, unable to believe it was real, she called Maya at work. Can you come home? What's wrong? Are you okay? I'm fine, just. Can you come home, please? Maya rushed home, terrified something was wrong. She found Elena sitting on their bed, tears streaming down her face, holding something in her hands. What happened? Maya asked, breathless. Elena held up the pregnancy test wordlessly. Maya stared at it, her brain struggling to process what she was seeing. Is that what I think it is? We're having a baby, Elena whispered. Maya, we're having a baby. Maya let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob, and pulled Elena into her arms. They cried together, overwhelmed with joy and relief and gratitude. The pregnancy was both magical and terrifying. Elena's body changed in ways that fascinated and frightened her. Maya went to every doctor's appointment, her hand clasped tightly in Elena's, both of them staring in awe at the ultrasound images of their growing baby. It's a girl. The technician told them at the 20-week appointment, a girl. They were having a daughter. Carmen was thrilled. She threw them a baby shower, inviting everyone from church despite her lingering worries about what people would think. Let them judge, she said firmly. This is my granddaughter we're celebrating. The shower was beautiful pink and gold decorations, games, laughter. Maya's mother flew in again, and the two grandmothers to be bonded over their shared excitement. Watching them together, Elena felt a wave of gratitude so intense it brought tears to her eyes. This was family. Not the family she'd been born into, though some of them were here. Not the family she'd once thought she'd have to lose. But a new family chosen, complicated, beautiful. A family built on love and acceptance and the willingness to grow. Their daughter, Sophia Carmen Maya, was born on a rainy April morning after 17 hours of labor. Maya held Elena's hand through every contraction, whispered encouragement in her ear, cried when Sophia finally emerged, screaming and perfect. She's beautiful, the nurse said, placing Sophia on Elena's chest. Congratulations, moms. They were moms now. Maya looked at her wife, exhausted, sweaty, radiant, holding their daughter, and felt her heart expand in ways she didn't know were possible. This was everything. This was worth every difficult conversation, every moment of doubt, every tear shed and fear faced. Carmen met Sophia that evening, and Maya would never forget the look on her face when she held her granddaughter for the first time. Hola, mi amor, Carmen whispered, tears streaming down her face. I'm your abuela. And I am so happy you're here. Parenthood was even harder than IVF had been. Sophia was colicky, crying for hours on end. They took turns walking her around the house at 3 a.m., exhausted and frazzled. They argued about sleep schedules and feeding routines and whose turn it was to change the diaper. But they also experienced joy unlike anything they'd ever known. Sophia's first smile, her first laugh, the way she looked at them with complete trust and love. I can't believe we made her, Elena said one night, watching Sophia sleep in her crib. Technically, we had a lot of medical help, Maya teased. You know what I mean. Look at her, Maya, she's perfect. And she's ours, she really is. As they stood there together, watching their daughter sleep, Maya thought about how far they'd come. From secret kisses on rooftops to this, a home, a family. A life built on truth and courage and love that refused to hide. Sophia was too when they encountered their first real challenge as a queer family raising a child. They'd enrolled her in a prestigious preschool in Brooklyn, one that boasted diversity and inclusion in all its marketing materials. But reality, as Maya and Elena were learning, didn't always match the brochure. It started small. Forms that only had spaces for mother and father rather than parent 1 and parent 2. Teachers who consistently addressed only Elena during pickup, even when Maya was standing right there. A Father's Day craft project that left Sophia confused and upset. We don't have a daddy, Sophia had said at dinner one night, her little face scrunched up in thought. Teacher Emma said everyone has a mommy and a daddy. But I have mama and mommy. Elena looked at Maya, her jaw tight with anger. This was the conversation they'd both been dreading and preparing for since Sophia was born. That's right, baby, Maya said gently. You have two mommies. Some kids have a mommy and a daddy. Some kids have two daddies. Some kids live with their grandparents or their aunts and uncles. Families come in all different shapes, but Teacher Emma said, Teacher Emma was wrong. Elena interjected, her voice firmer than she intended. She softened when she saw Sophia's eyes widen. What I mean is, Teacher Emma doesn't know about all the different kinds of families. But you know what? You're going to teach her. You're going to show her that families with two mommies are just as special and normal as any other family. Sophia nodded solemnly. Though Maya could tell she didn't fully understand, the next morning, Maya and Elena requested a meeting with the preschool director. They sat in her office, watching Ms. Patterson shuffle papers uncomfortably. I apologize if there was any confusion, Ms. Patterson said, her tone suggesting she didn't think there was any confusion at all. We do our best to be inclusive, but you have to understand, most of our families are traditional. We can't cater to every special circumstance. Special circumstance? Elena's voice was ice. Our family isn't a special circumstance. We're parents just like every other parent here. And your teacher telling our daughter that everyone has a mommy and a daddy is not only inaccurate, it's harmful. I'm sure she didn't mean we don't care what she meant. Maya cut in, her usual calm demeanor cracking. We care about what she said and how it made our daughter feel. Sophia should feel seen and celebrated at school, not confused and othered, Ms. Patterson sighed. Ladies, I understand your concerns, but you have to see this from our perspective. We have religious families, conservative families. We can't push an agenda. An agenda? Elena stood up abruptly. Acknowledging that queer families exist isn't an agenda. It's reality. And if your school can't handle that reality, then we'll find one that can. They withdrew Sophia from the preschool that same day. It was scary. They'd worked hard to get her enrolled and now they were back at square one. But it also felt empowering. They were refusing to let their daughter grow up thinking her family was something to hide or apologize for. They found a new preschool 2 weeks later. One run by a queer couple with adopted children. The moment they walked in and saw rainbow flags alongside the alphabet posters, both Maya and Elena felt something inside them relax. Welcome, said one of the directors. A woman named Jenna with kind eyes and paint-stained overalls. We're so glad you're here. Sophia, you're going to love it. We have 3 other kids with 2 moms, 2 with 2 dads. And lots of kids with all kinds of families. Sophia's eyes lit up. Really? Family is family, no matter what it looks like. In her new school, Sophia thrived. She made friends, learned to paint, and came home singing songs about diversity and acceptance. But more importantly, she came home confident in who she was and where she came from. When Sophia was 3, Carmen was diagnosed with breast cancer. The news hit Elena like a physical blow. They'd just gotten through the hardest parts of early motherhood. They'd just started feeling like they had their footing. And now this. Carmen was stoic, as always. We caught it early, she told Elena over the phone. The doctors say the prognosis is good. I'll do chemo, radiation, whatever they recommend. I'm not going anywhere, Mija. I still have to watch my granddaughter grow up. But Elena couldn't shake the fear. She'd already lost her grandmother. The thought of losing her mother too, especially now that they'd rebuilt their relationship, was unbearable. Maya watched helplessly as Elena threw herself into caretaker mode. She went with Carmen to every appointment, researched treatment options obsessively, cleaned her mother's house, cooked meals to freeze for bad days. She was doing everything except taking care of herself. Elena, you need to slow down, Maya said one night after Elena had put Sophia to bed and was already pulling out her laptop to research clinical trials. You're running yourself into the ground. I'm fine. You're not fine. You barely sleep. You're not eating. Sophia asked me yesterday why Mama is always sad. Elena's face crumpled. I can't lose her, Maya, not now. Not when we've finally figured out how to love each other properly. Maya pulled her close. I know, baby, I know. But you can't help her if you fall apart. You need to let me carry some of this. Let me take Sophia to Carmen's next week so you can rest. Let me research doctors while you take a bath and actually relax for one night. I don't know how to relax when my mother is sick, I know. But you have to try. For Sophia, for Carmen, for me. And for yourself. Slowly, reluctantly, Elena started to let Maya help. They divided responsibilities. Maya handled logistics while Elena provided emotional support. They tag-teamed childcare, making sure Sophia still felt loved and secure even as the adults around her dealt with scary things. Carmen's treatment was brutal. The chemo made her sick and weak. Her hair fell out. There were days when she couldn't get out of bed. But she kept fighting, kept showing up, kept refusing to let cancer define her. Elena brought Sofia to visit regularly, though she was careful to prepare her daughter first. Abuela is sick right now, she'd explain. She doesn't look like herself. But inside, she's still the same abuela who loves you and makes you flan. Sofia, with the adaptability of childhood, took it all in stride. She'd crawl into bed with Carmen, careful not to jostle her, and tell her stories about preschool. She'd draw pictures and tape them on Carmen's walls. She'd pat Carmen's bald head gently and tell her she was beautiful, this child. Carmen said to Elena one day, tears in her eyes, is the best medicine I could ask for 6 months after her diagnosis. Carmen's scans came back clear. The cancer was in remission. The celebration was quiet but profound. Maya made dinner while Elena and Carmen sat on the couch, holding hands and crying. Sofia danced around them, not fully understanding but picking up on the joy in the room. You did it. Mommy, Elena whispered. You beat it, we did it, Carmen corrected. You, Maya, Sofia, all of you kept me going. Gave me something to fight for. You've always been a fighter, Carmen smiled, weary but genuine. I learned from the best. My daughter taught me what real courage looks like. Sofia started kindergarten that fall. She was bright, curious, and utterly fearless, a combination of both her mothers. She made friends easily, asked a million questions, and came home every day bursting with stories. But kindergarten also brought new challenges. One day, Sofia came home crying, her backpack dragging on the ground behind her. What happened? Baby? Elena knelt down, wiping Sofia's tears with her thumb. Aiden said. He said I can't have to moms. He said it's weird and wrong. And when I told teacher Sarah, she said I should just ignore him. Maya felt fury bloom in her chest. She said what? Elena held up a hand, silencing Maya for the moment. She needed to handle this carefully for Sofia's sake. Baby, look at me. What Aiden said is not true. Having two moms isn't weird or wrong. It's different from his family. And sometimes people say mean things about stuff they don't understand. But that doesn't make them right. But why did teacher Sarah tell me to ignore him? Doesn't she care? That was the question that hurt. Elena looked at Maya, seeing her own anger and hurt reflected back. They'd thought sending Sofia to public school would be fine. The neighborhood was liberal, diverse. But clearly, diversity wasn't the same as understanding. Maya took over. Mommy and I are going to talk to your teacher and the principal tomorrow. What Aiden said was bullying, and teacher Sarah should have addressed it properly. You did nothing wrong, Sofia, do you hear me? You did nothing wrong, Sofia nodded, sniffling. I wish everyone had families like ours. Then no one would think it was weird. Elena's heart broke. I wish that too, baby. But you know what? The world is getting better. When Mommy and I were growing up, there were lots of people who thought families like ours couldn't exist. But now look, you're here, and you're perfect, and you have two moms who love you more than anything. That's progress. And maybe someday, kids like you won't have to deal with kids like Aiden at all. How long until someday? I don't know, Elena admitted. But we'll keep working on it. Together, the meeting with the school the next day was tense. The principal, Mr. Davis, was apologetic but defensive. We have anti-bullying policies, he insisted. But we can't police every interaction between 5-year-olds. We're not asking you to police every interaction, Maya said, her voice tight with controlled anger. We're asking you to address homophobia when it happens. To teach these kids that all families deserve respect. We do teach that, clearly not well enough. If a teacher's response to a child being bullied about her family is to tell her to ignore it. Elena leaned forward. Mr. Davis, my daughter shouldn't have to develop a thick skin at 5 years old because your staff doesn't know how to handle discrimination. The meeting ended with promises of sensitivity training and better protocols. Maya and Elena left feeling like they'd won a battle but not the war. This is exhausting, Elena said in the car. Fighting the same fights over and over again, I know. But we're doing it for her. So she grows up knowing she's worth fighting for. I just wish, Elena trailed off, staring out the window. I wish it was easier. I wish we could just be a normal family without having to constantly educate everyone around us. We are a normal family, Maya said firmly. We're just a normal family in a world that's still learning. But Elena, look how far we've come. Your mother accepts us. Most of your family accepts us. We have friends, community, a beautiful daughter. We're winning more battles than we're losing. Elena reached over and took Maya's hand. You're right. I know you're right. Some days are just harder than others. That's okay. We're allowed to have hard days. Sofia's 6th birthday party was a revelation. They'd invited her whole kindergarten class. Unsure how many kids would actually come given the incident with Aiden. But 20 children showed up, running through their backyard, laughing and playing. Aiden's mother, Jennifer, approached Maya and Elena tentatively. Can we talk? They exchanged a glance, then nodded. Jennifer looked uncomfortable. I want to apologize for what Aiden said to Sophia, his father, and I. We've been talking to him about different kinds of families, explaining that what he said was hurtful. We should have done that before, but honestly, we just didn't think about it. We're trying to do better. Elena was surprised but touched. Thank you. That means a lot, I mean it. You two are raising a wonderful little girl, and she deserves to feel safe and celebrated, just like any kid. I'm sorry it took my son being cruel for me to realize. We needed to be more intentional about teaching acceptance. After she walked away, Maya turned to Elena with tears in her eyes. Did that just happen? I think it did. People can change, they can. Elena watched Sophia run around with her friends, Aiden included, both of them laughing over something. They really can. When Sophia was 7, she started asking harder questions. Mommy, how was I born? They were in the kitchen, Maya making dinner while Sophia did homework at the table. Elena was at work, so Maya was on her own for this one. She took a breath, buying time by stirring the pasta sauce. They'd always planned to be honest with Sophia about her conception, but they'd figured they had a few more years before this conversation. Well, Maya started carefully. You know how some families have a mom and a dad, and the dad helps make the baby? Yeah, Mama and I both wanted a baby so badly, but we needed help because we're both women. So we went to a special doctor and the doctor helped us. They used something called a sperm donor. That's a person who donates part of what makes a baby. And then that went inside Mama's body, and that's where you grew until you were ready to be born. Sophia processed this, her face scrunched up in concentration. So I have a dad somewhere? Not exactly. You have a donor, someone who helped make you. But you don't have a dad. You have Mama and me. We're your parents. Can I meet the donor? Maybe someday, when you're older. We used something called an open donor, which means when you turn 18. You can choose to contact him if you want. But that's a decision you'll make when you're ready. Sophia nodded slowly. Okay, but Mama and you are my real moms, right? Yes, baby. We're your real moms. Forever and always. Good. Sophia went back to her homework, seemingly satisfied. Maya texted Elena immediately. We need to talk when you get home. Sophia asked about her conception. Elena replied within seconds. Is she okay? She's fine. Took it in stride, actually. But we should probably have a more detailed conversation soon. That night, after Sophia was asleep, Maya and Elena lay in bed talking about it. I knew this day would come, Elena said. But I'm still not sure I handled it right. You weren't even there. I handled it, you know what I mean. I wonder if we should have told her earlier, made it a more normal part of her story, maybe. But we can't change that now. We can only move forward. Maya rolled over to face Elena. She seemed okay with it. Not upset or confused. Just curious, what if she wants to meet him someday? What if she prefers him to us? Elena, Maya took her wife's face in her hands. That's not going to happen. We're her mothers. We're the ones who wake up with her in the middle of the night, who kiss her scraped knees, who help with homework and pack lunches and know exactly how she likes her sandwiches cut. Biology doesn't change that, I know. I'm scared sometimes that we're not enough. That she'll grow up and resent us for the choices we made. She won't. Because we made those choices out of love. And we're raising her to understand that love comes in all forms, including the love of a stranger who donated so that families like ours could exist. Elena nodded. But Maya could tell she was still anxious. They dealt with external challenges, family, society, schools. But this was an internal one, the fears that came with being queer parents in a world that still sometimes questioned their legitimacy. Sophia's questions continued over the years. Some were easier to answer than others. Why do some people think it's wrong for two women to be married? Do I have to be gay too? What if I want to have a dad? Maya and Elena answered each question as honestly as they could, walking the line between protecting Sophia's innocence and preparing her for reality. They taught her about history, about the struggles LGBTQ+ people had faced and continued to face. They taught her about choice, about identity, about the fact that she could be whoever she wanted to be, and Sophia absorbed it all, growing into a thoughtful, compassionate child who stood up for her classmates when they were bullied, who asked her teachers questions about representation, who loved her family fiercely. When she was 9, Sophia wrote an essay for school titled My Two Moms. Elena and Maya read it together, both of them crying by the end. Some people think it's weird that I have two moms, Sophia had written in her careful handwriting. But I think it's weird that everyone doesn't have two moms because mine are the best. Mama is an artist and she teaches me to see beauty in everything. Mommy works with families and she teaches me to be kind. They love each other so much and they love me even more. They had to be really brave to be together because not everyone thought it was okay. But they were brave anyway because love is worth fighting for. That's what I learned from my two moms. Love is worth fighting for, she gets it, Maya whispered. She really gets it because we showed her, Elena said. Every fight, every difficult conversation. Every moment we chose to be visible instead of hiding, she was watching. And learning. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Maya and Elena renewed their vows. They'd planned a small ceremony at the same gallery where they'd been married the first time. But Carmen had other ideas. You need a real party, she insisted. Invite everyone. Celebrate what you've built, so they did. They invited family, friends, colleagues, Sophia's teachers, neighbors. They invited people who'd been with them from the beginning. And people who'd come into their lives more recently. They even invited Jennifer, Aiden's mother, who'd become a surprising ally and friend over the years. The gallery was packed. Sophia, now 10 years old, was their flower girl again, grinning widely as she walked down the aisle scattering rose petals. Maya and Elena stood facing each other, older now, marked by the years but also strengthened by them. They'd gained laugh lines and a few gray hairs. They'd weathered storms and celebrated victories. They'd raised a daughter and built a life. 10 years ago, Elena began, her voice steady. I promised to keep choosing bravery, to keep choosing honesty, to keep choosing you. And I've kept that promise, even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. Maya, you've taught me what it means to love without conditions. To be patient without being passive, to fight without being cruel. You've shown me that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's feeling the fear and doing it anyway. I'm so grateful for every day I get to be your wife, Sophia's mama. And the woman I've become because of you. Maya was already crying. Elena, when we met, I was complete. But you showed me there was a different kind of completeness. Waiting for me, one that involved partnership, compromise, shared dreams. These 10 years haven't always been easy. We've fought and failed and fallen short. But we've also laughed until we couldn't breathe, held each other through loss, and created something beautiful together. Not just Sophia, though she's our greatest achievement, but this us. A marriage built on truth, a love that refuses to hide. You were worth the wait. You're worth every fight. And I promise you, for the next 10 years and every year after that, I'll keep choosing you too. They exchanged new rings, simple bands inscribed with still choosing you. When the officiant pronounced them married again, Sophia was the first one to cheer, jumping up and down and clapping. The room erupted in applause and laughter. At the reception, Carmen gave a toast that left everyone in tears. 10 years ago, I stood in this room and watched my daughter marry the love of her life. I won't lie, it was hard for me. I struggled with my faith, with my understanding of what family should look like. But these two women taught me something important. Love is love. It doesn't matter if it looks different from what you expected. What matters is how you treat each other, how you face the world together, how you raise your children. Maya and Elena have shown me what real commitment looks like, what real courage looks like, and I'm honored to call them both my daughters later. As they danced together their anniversary dance to At Last, the same song from their wedding, Elena whispered in Maya's ear. We made it, we did, Maya whispered back. And we're going to keep making it. For how long? Forever. Or at least until one of us gets sick of the other's terrible jokes, Elena laughed. The sound bright and free. So forever, then, forever, Maya agreed. They swayed together, surrounded by love and light and the family they'd built, biological, chosen, and everything in between. Sophia danced nearby with her grandmother, both of them grinning. Friends clinked glasses and told stories. The gallery that had been the site of so many beginnings was witnessing another one. Because that's what life was, Maya realized. A series of beginnings and endings and everything in between. Moments of fear and moments of courage. Times when love felt easy and times when it felt impossible, but through it all, if you could find someone willing to choose you day after day, fight after fight, year after year, that was everything. That was the whisper in the space where everyone else faded away. That was home. Maya stood in the doorway of Sophia's bedroom, watching her daughter know her young woman pack for college. Sophia was 18 now, tall and confident, with Elena's dark curls and Maya's creative spirit. Mom, you're being creepy, Sophia said without turning around. I'm being sentimental. There's a difference. Sophia turned around with a smile. I'm only going to Boston. It's not like I'm moving to another country. It feels like another country. Elena appeared behind Maya, wrapping her arms around her wife's waist. Let her pack, Meamer. You're going to make her cry and then we'll all be crying and nothing will get done. Too late. Sophia said, wiping her eyes. You already made me cry. They all laughed, even as tears streamed down their faces. Sophia sat on her bed, gesturing for her mothers to join her. I want to tell you something. I've been thinking about it a lot. Maya and Elena exchanged a worried glance and sat on either side of their daughter. I decided I want to meet my donor, Sophia said, not because I feel like something's missing, Not because you aren't enough, but because I'm curious about that part of my story. Elena's face went pale, but she nodded. Okay. Sophia seemed surprised by the easy acceptance. Okay, Maya echoed. We always told you that when you were ready, you could make that choice. And we meant it. You're not upset, we're terrified, Elena admitted. But not because we think we're going to lose you, because we want this to be a good experience for you, and we can't control that. You've both taught me that fear doesn't mean you don't do something, Sophia said. It just means you do it scared. Maya smiled through her tears. When did you get so wise? I learned from the best. Sophia hugged them both. I love you, both of you. Always. Later that evening, after Sophia had gone to sleep, Maya and Elena sat on their back porch, holding hands and looking up at the stars. She's going to be okay, Elena said. I know. We did good, we did. Maya squeezed Elena's hand. We really did. I never imagined this, when I was young and terrified and hiding who I was. I never let myself imagine this, a wife, a daughter, a life where I could be completely myself. What do you imagine now? Elena turned to look at Maya, her face soft in the moonlight. More of this, growing old with you, watching Sophia become whoever she's meant to be. Maybe grandchildren someday, but mostly just more days like this, more quiet moments. More fights about whose turn it is to do the dishes, more laughter. More love. That sounds perfect. It does, doesn't it? They sat in comfortable silence. The kind that comes from two people who've spent years learning each other's rhythms. In the distance, they could hear the sounds of the city cars honking, people laughing, life happening all around them. But here, in this space they'd created together, it was quiet, peaceful, home, one space. One whisper, everyone else was gone, and that was exactly how it should be.